Welcome in, friends and neighbors. Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom from everywhere around. And all of you Charger fans, you don't want to be here. Welcome back. I'm pretty excited about this game. We're going to go over a ton of things tonight. Looks like there's a good group in the chat already. Big hand to Aaron Morrow, our fearless mod, who will take care of things. A lot of things to talk about. Again, folks, if you want to support the channel, please do. The super chats and super stickers are open, but we're not taking questions tonight. I'm going to go through all of my notes that I took on this game, and that's really what this particular show is for. There's so much to go over. I can't really string it out much farther. We just recorded the first half of the Locked On Chiefs podcast. The pressers came up a little bit early, so we got to still finish that. So we're going to go through the notes. Your support is always thanked for, and I appreciate it very much. Be back tomorrow night where we're going to do the standard Q&A that we always do, an hour of all of your questions, Chiefs related for the most part and otherwise, and we'll get into that tomorrow. Now today, first off, had that shock of not seeing Tyrod Taylor, a quarterback that the team actually game planned for. That makes things a little bit difficult. It always does. There's no way around that, really. And I think, honestly, they handled it pretty well. Not perfectly, but they handled it pretty well. The defense had a slow start, but they caught up, and I liked that. I like to see the resilience from them. That's really important. And at the end of the day, playing a different quarterback kind of changes your whole plan. I think that the Chiefs rolled with it as best they could, and I think it ended up working out pretty well. Again, not perfect, but it is what it is. I'm going to go down through my notes as we progress through the game. I want to start at the top at the end, though, before we get into all the little details. Harrison Butker, 3 kicks to get that 3 points to win that game. You got to give him a lot of credit. And I don't cover special teams a ton on here because a lot of it doesn't decide games that often, especially for these Chiefs. So more power to him. Congratulations. I see a lot of you were anxious. I was anxious as well. They start out the game, and it looked a lot more of what we saw in the past. A lot of issues at the linebacker level. Now, last week, I didn't get the all-22 until Thursday. Actually, really late Wednesday, but I was already out of the house. I have family obligations on Wednesday, so I wasn't able to break that down. Hopefully, everything goes better this week, and we can break things down a lot easier and a lot quicker. Dan and I are going to continue to take the 2-pronged approach. One of us will take one side of the ball or a play or something. We're going to vary it up, and we'll see what he pays me so he can do. I'm sure we'll both be clamoring for a couple of specific things, but we'll give you breakdowns on both sides of the ball this week. Tomorrow I'll have the stats. Tomorrow we'll have the Q&A. Tuesday we'll have the stat breakdown like I did last week. That's going to be a really interesting one this particular game because there were a lot of missed tackles in particular. And that comes, again, it's early in the season. This is honestly the game that we expected to see from the tackling standpoint last week. The linebackers were pretty big culprits. Dan Sorensen was a pretty big culprit too. Just looks really rusty out there. Juan Thornhill had a couple of problems that I remember. I thought Juan recovered pretty well, and I thought he was in position to make some plays. He didn't quite get them done, but I'm not going to hold that against him. I'm really happy that Juan's out there and he seems to be progressing. I don't think he's 100% yet, but I'd put him at 90 or 95. So I think that's going to continue to improve. The linebackers were difficult, and there's really no other way to put it. The fact that a couple of guys got hurt was even problematic. When I'm hoping that Anthony Hitchens is the guy that comes back in, that's a problem. Neiman was overmatched a lot of the day. I thought he recovered at times, but overall, the linebacker play is just sloppy. And that goes for Willie Gay, too. Willie Gay got a few snaps. I know everybody's been clamoring for him, and so have I. But I will say this. On first view, and I'll check the all-22 when we get it, Willie looked really frenetic out there. He was running around. He was taking false steps. He was stutter stepping a lot. That generally means that he's overexcited. He's finally in the game, and I can understand that. It also means he's probably still thinking a lot too, and he's second guessing himself. That's usually what those stutter step means. Those false steps mean. So that will come, I think. Hey, D-Lock, I'm glad you're here. Appreciate that, especially from the UK. I know it's late, or is it early now? I'm not sure, but I appreciate that. And I just wanted to ping that because you happen to have Willie on there too. I think Willie will get more going forward. We're going to have to see what happens with the rest of the linebackers in terms of the injuries. I think he should get more time, and I think he will get more time. And I think that will start to settle down everything. And that's really going to be the turning point, is when can he play under control and play assignment sound. And I think it's good that he got a few snaps, but clearly they wanted to get the other guys back out there that have the experience. A lot of snaps from the rookie class again. And I thought for the most part, they really came up well. Wharton played a lot. Dana played a ton. He got beat up on a couple of plays early, especially those where he had that mixed coverage. I honestly think there was a breakdown on the touchdown where he was inside, I think, and he had, for some reason, there was no linebacker there to take either responsibility. And you can't have a defensive end cover a running back and a quarterback. It just doesn't work. So I think there's a breakdown there, and I'm definitely going to be investigating that. I'll go through the film, and I'll tell you what I find. There is a lot there from the rookie class to build on, and it's not just L'Jarius, but L'Jarius played well. Obviously, Clyde didn't have the same day, but Clyde had a good day. I felt like he was effective. I thought he stepped up when he had to. When Darryl got hurt, Darryl's got an ankle, and I haven't seen the post-game pressers yet. I will run that down. We'll have the injury review tomorrow night. I'll be able to give you all those updates. I'm sure Matt will have some as well, and we'll probably get a little bit more information on Sammy tomorrow rather than tonight. I think Sammy's probably going to miss a couple of games because of, I'm guessing he's in the concussion protocol, and I'm guessing he's not going to get cleared anything soon. Another super chat. I just want to shout that out because I hate to let those go. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate that. I'll have to go back and read your question later, but tomorrow night's the Q&A, you guys. Make sure you come back tomorrow at 7 o'clock Arrowhead, 7 Central, and we'll go through everybody's questions. Let's see, where was I? Darryl got hurt. I thought Matthew was Matthew. I thought Matthew was the player of the game on the defense, despite what Snead did. And Chris Jones, I said this on the podcast just a few minutes ago. Chris Jones had some really good plays, and he had some plays where he stood around watching other guys make tackles or unfortunately missed tackles. And at this point with this contract, he needs to play to the whistle every down, every day, no matter what. I don't want to see guys standing around anymore. And I have a feeling that the coaches are going to feel that same way because it was not just Chris. So that said, I thought Dana progressed, and I thought he learned from his first couple of passes. He made that sack after bumping and disrupting the route of the running back. And that was a great play on his part. And I thought that was a direct repetition of the first play that he didn't do so well. And again, that's a rookie mistake. That's a rookie being overmatched. And they did a lot of things to attack the rookies or the young players in general. And some of that was Dana. Some of that was aimed the touchdown that Fenton didn't make a move. That was designed. That was specifically for that. And I'll break that play down. I'm sure that will be one of the ones that I do. Because as much as I would have liked Fenton to really guard against the more dangerous receiver, he was in a position that he couldn't win. There were two guys in his zone. The play was designed to do that because they had done their homework and they knew that when the Chiefs play cover 3, they generally have a safety underneath in a shallower zone, and he doesn't carry through. And that's why Dan Sorensen passed off that receiver. And that's why that happened, because you put the deep safety on that third in a position where, or in this place, a corner, not a safety, where he has to make a decision between two receivers. You can't cover them both. As long as they run their routes correctly and they maintain their separation as they should, that's a play that gets you points every time. So I can't put that all on Fenton. That was a really well-designed thing by the Chargers. But I think there's a little shading he could have done. I did think that he got a little bit slower reaction because he was looking in the backfield. That happens. Jeremy Jones, thanks for your super chat. I appreciate it. Moving on, I talked about Juan. Willie made a big play, one of the big plays of the game with that blocked punt. That was huge. I thought, honestly, that Willie and Tommy Townsend had some great punts. I thought they were going to be the special teams player of the game until it came down to the end. 2 58-yarders for Harrison Butker. That's a big day out, and more power to him. And quite frankly, I said this on the pod as well, I think he can hit from 65 to 70, 65 at a minimum, by what he did today. Chris Jones got caught on a couple of spin moves in the second quarter. I wrote that down because I think it was a couple of different times. And I thought Snead gave up a couple of passes that he should have. That one in particular to Keenan Allen that he wasn't far off, but Keenan Allen shook him loose by a good yard or two. And so that's enough separation for Keenan Allen to make a play. But Snead never gave up on him. Snead pushed him all game long, and in the fourth quarter was jacking him at the line, playing physical. And that's what Snead does. That's where he's most comfortable. And I think that's what's going to pay off for him in the end. You're going to end up with a guy like Bashaud Breeland. Breezy is a guy that is physical, that has long arms, that plays best in man, in press, but he doesn't have the long speed. So he has to disrupt the route a little more physically, a little more effectively. Snead is a guy that plays well in press, that likes to be physical, but he also has the deep speed so that if he misses or if the guy fights through it and he happens to have great speed, Snead can still carry him all the way down the field. And so that's really going to pay off for him. And you're going to hear people tell you that it's Justin Herbert should have never thrown that ball, and all Snead did was stand there on an underthrown pass. That's not the case because Snead was coming from the side. He was either, and because of the frame of the broadcast, I couldn't see where his assignment was. Again, I'll have to look at that on the All-22. But he was either in the intermediate short zone with a safety over the top, or he had the third on that side of the field. He came off of that to come make that play. That was a play that L'Jarius Snead went and made as well. Let's see. Oh, the big disruption by Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann being Tyrann, I think he was probably the best player on the defense today. Because not only did he do his thing, not only did he break up that pass in the end zone, but he kept everybody put together. When Hamilton went down, when guys got beat, he kept everybody together. And that's the leadership they needed, especially when he's doing his thing in the back and Frank goes out. Frank's got to keep it together in the front. And without him, I thought it all fell to Tyrann. I thought he did a good job rallying those guys, getting them to up their game in the fourth quarter. I think that's really significant. That's what it's going to be going forward as well. More notes on Dana improving through the game. The first 58-yarder, good for Butker. Bosa got his first sack, and everybody's always screaming at me that Joey Bosa is the best defensive end in the league. He's not. He's not even the best defensive end in his family. The best defensive end in his family got hurt. And Nick Bosa looks like it might be an ACL. I haven't seen the updates. We'll have to check that in a little bit. But here's the thing. Today, Joey Bosa upped his game against Mitch Schwartz, and he won. Mitch Schwartz did not have a good game. The interior of the offensive line did not have a good game. False starts, not paying attention, holding penalties. The offensive interior got beat up. And I think that we all know that they have Ingram and they have Bosa. And Bosa's always been good. And I'm not trying to give him too much crap. I'm just saying I think his brother's a little bit better. But he and Ingram are a known quantity. It's the fact that now they're getting play from Tillery. I think Tillery upped his game dramatically from last season. And they have Joseph. That makes that front one of the premier ones in the league now, and I thought they showed that today. The Chiefs have to regroup, and they have to figure things out because the reason the offense stalled was because of the offensive line. It was not that the wide receivers weren't getting open. The wide receivers were getting deep coverage again in thirds and fourths, and that was the whole plan. That's why Patrick isn't getting to go that deep, much like we saw against the I don't know, Aaron, if Nick is out for the year. I know he got hurt. I don't know the severity yet. I'll have to check. The whole point is that the Chiefs are going to see that deeper coverage. So it's not the wide receivers. They're facing a lot of coverage out there. It's about Kelsey and Clyde underneath, and it's about the crossing patterns underneath. You have to have time in order to throw those. And the offensive line is what broke down today. That's why this game went the way that it did. But they powered through enough, and they were mortified, and then motivated by Patrick. And I'll give credit to Patrick Mahomes, not only for what he did physically, not only for leading them back, but for not allowing the game to get away with it from him, piss him off to the point where he was barking or anything like that. He was the consummate professional. We didn't see anything unless they didn't catch it, and he did something on the sideline that we didn't see. On the field, he was composed. He seemed focused. He seemed to keep guys on track and not just start berating them when he got frustrated. And he was clearly frustrated. That's the sign of a leader that is not just somebody that leads well when they're playing well. Leadership comes when you're not playing well. So even more so, I thought that was great. Let's see. So back to Bosa. Bosa got his first sack ever of Mahomes. So that means that this is the first time that he's been able to beat Mitch Schwartz or Eric Fisher. That's significant. And so that might be a turning of the tide in terms of the Chiefs' tackles for the future. We're going to have to see what happened. We're going to have to see if they can rebound the next time they play this team. Let's see. Snead was targeted, but I thought he was solid. Again, he did get that interception, and that was a nice play. But there were other plays that he was solid on. And I thought for Keenan Allen, for all of his barking, what did Keenan Allen do? He did have 96 yards, which is over his average. The last 10 meetings, Keenan Allen has averaged 71 yards a game against the Chiefs with 3 touchdowns in 10 meetings. Again, he did not score. Like I told you guys pregame, the guy that actually made the biggest hay, I thought, on both sides was the tight ends. Yes, they had the receiver that helped them. And Tyreek obviously made the play of the game on the offense, but the offense flowed through Travis Kelce. And the most success until the fourth quarter that the Chargers had was through Hunter Henry. That was pretty much normal. And it goes back to the linebackers, and that the Chargers had a rookie linebacker in there, and the Chiefs had the linebackers that aren't quite ready. They're not up to snuff in the coverage game. The run early was beating them up. There were some run fit problems. I don't know if it's guys trying to over pursue or overdo their assignments, but we're just going to have to see what that comes. They have to be more sound. Part of it was some of the linemen seemed to be guessing. I think at least 3 plays I saw Chris Jones kind of either spun out of something or guessed in the wrong spot, and that throws off the linebackers as well. They got to get their run fits more strict and more locked down, or teams are going to run on them all year long, starting next week in a big way. Let's see next. There was one play in particular. I think it got called back on a penalty, but Patrick threw into double coverage once and threw it short, and it would have been picked off. There are times where he's human, and I think that was actually the turning point for Patrick himself, because after that, I think they went out and they had a little time to cool off. I thought after that, he started to pick up his game, and he stopped forcing it, and he started taking what he had and letting the routes develop a little bit more instead of throwing the ball into double coverage. So that looked like it to me. The hit on Sammy Watkins was helmet to helmet. There's no doubt in my mind. I said it at the time on Twitter. That's what it looked like. Andy Reid was well fired up in his presser, from what I understand from Matt. And Andy agrees. I think they're going to pull the tape and they're going to send it to the league, because that should have been not only a huge penalty, that player should have been ejected. I don't remember who it was at the time, but I will verify that on rewatch. Hardman, up and down. I told you guys preseason that I think Hardman is a guy that should be reaping the benefits. He should be the next guy to step forward and step out and have a complete, not only resurgence, but a huge impact. He just hasn't done it yet. And I think what you saw, at least on 3 plays that I saw, where he's patting his chest, acknowledging that he didn't do what he was supposed to do. There are still some read issues with Mecole Hardman. He dropped something today. There was another play where he was standing around after the play rather than doing something about it. Just a lack of playing through the whistle all over this team. That's fundamental, and I think that's because they haven't had the training camp that they normally have. I think they can fix that. But then I thought Mecole made up for it. A couple of grabs over the middle, the 2-point grab, that was a difficult throw, and it was a difficult catch. So more power to him as well. I hope that that's what jumpstarts Mecole in making progress at this point. Good play from Tedrick Thompson making a stop there at one point. We talked about the O-line holdings. We talked about Snead being physical. And then it comes down to this. The X factor in this game, the thing that held them in it was the defense stepping up and making some adjustments. And the thing that kept the offense at least putting out some kind of performance was Patrick Mahomes' legs. He was the leading rusher today by a wide margin. And he had 6 scrambles for 54 yards. Clyde was getting biled up. That front, again, was beating up the offensive line, so Clyde couldn't get loose. I thought Clyde tried hard. I thought Clyde had a couple of really nice catches. He ended up with 6 receptions on the day. So Clyde is starting to get going. And it's just going to be about balance. That's a good defense. It's one of the better in the league they're going to face. I know you can say without Derwin James, it's not the best. But I think with Derwin James, it was pushing to be the best. So I think that's significant. But don't underestimate the fact that Patrick Mahomes is taking his game to another level, not just pushing it down the field, but now that he knows he has that deep coverage, that he can't do what he's done in the past. Part of it is taking off with his legs. And I think that he's really progressing that way. And that's going to be something we're going to see more of and something that he's going to have to do. I'm seeing some questions in here. I will answer all your questions tomorrow night, you guys. There's just not a ton here. Thornhill, I thought he made some mistakes early. I thought he recovered. I'm trying to think of who else that stood out to me that I didn't write down. I thought Sammy came up at times before he got hurt. I liked that. I'll give Demarcus Robinson some credit. He made one really nice grab that was really fortuitous at the time, but he also was in there for his ability to chip Joey Bosa, and he did that a number of times, and I think that really helped them solidify the front that let them come back. So good for Andy for making the adjustment and going to that, but more power to Demarcus Robinson, who as a wide receiver and you know, a wide receiver more on the skinny side, to tell you the truth. He did it in the Super Bowl, and he came in inside, lined up as in a tight end position in an H, and cracked on guys, and it helped. So more power to him when they have to do that. He's clearly a guy that is not afraid to block either on the perimeter or definitely in line. So that gives them another option. I did see a Yelder sighting at one point, but I think the play got blown dead and then he left the field. They went to a different play. So that was part of it. Tyreek Hill, good for him for persevering. Dumb move to take his hat off after he scored. He ought to know better than that. That should have been a penalty. By the rule, that should have been a penalty. But good for him. I'm sure he was frustrated. I know he had cramps at one point from what we said, but he persevered and got through that too, and was the X factor that they needed when they needed it. So more power to them all. I'm really impressed that for a team that I felt walked in there thinking they had it in the bag, and they got punched in the mouth and recovered. So I think that was a positive sign. And hopefully it will also remind this team that they're not the 2019 team. They are not that team. They have to play better. They can't expect to come back on everybody all the time. That was a thing. Now it's not. This was really close to being a first loss. So more power to him. Oh, Joel, thanks for letting me know. So Nick did tear his ACL. We'll have more of a rundown. Remember, you guys, I'm also hosting the Locked On NFL podcast now on Thursdays specifically, where we run down the big game on Thursday night, but a lot of other things as well. I my podcast partner over there is Chris Carter. We're doing some great stuff, and I hope you'll check out the Locked On NFL show as well. Something fun. I'll have the rundown on the snap counts and the stats. Tomorrow night is the Q&A. Make sure you come back for that. It'll be, again, 7 o'clock Central. That's when we always do it. For all of you that are new to this channel, that is every Monday all year long, unless I'm on vacation or something. So thank you guys for checking out the other videos. Danilo did another tailgate video. He's going to keep doing that. Dan will keep coming with all the breakdowns. We're going to keep doing the game plan. We'll have stuff for you all week long. We'll probably skip Thursday this week because nobody got a chance to see that with Thursday Night Football, so that's okay. No big deal. We will adjust. But I appreciate all your super chats tonight. Looks like David added one as well. Thank you, David. Thank you, Aaron Morrow, for running this thing, and thank all of you for being here. Congratulations. 2-0 is a big thing. We'll talk about how they get to 3-0 next week. You guys have a great night, and I will see you tomorrow night.